Okay, ji, Assalamualaikum. Um, in this lecture number 1, we are going to discuss the chapter number 2, AS 9618, and the chapter number 2, which is about network devices. And in a very first, we are going to discuss about the types of devices. Types of networks as well. So when we talk about the types of networks in AS, there are basically three types of networks, and we will just cover up two. The first one, which is called LAN, second one, which is called WAN, and the third one, which is called a MAN. LAN basically stands for local area network, WAN stands for wide area network, and MAN basically stands for metropolitan area network. As we know that infrastructure is just done if you are going to join computers more than one computer are going to be joined. So if you are going to arrange a lab within a building, you are supposed to make a LAN structure. So all these computers will be connected through like a central devices and will be managed as well. So LAN is basically set up within a building or in a very small geographical area. If we talk about WAN, which is called a wide area network, before discussing the WAN, I would like to tell you about MAN, which is called a metropolitan area network. WAN, which is LAN, which is set up within a building or within a city as well. And if you want to join these two LANs, all right, at different positions, or you can say at different locations, but within a city, so then you can, if you are going to join, so it make a infrastructure like a MAN as well. Okay. And if you want to join these LAN and WAN across the city, it is called WAN. So it is called a wide area network. So when we talk about LAN, the characteristics and uses of LANs. So LAN stands for local area network, and it covers a very small and geographical area, which is basically consisting in a single building, or you can say nearby rooms as well. LAN is basically used to connect multiple computers and is used to share the resources, and the resources can be in the form of hardware, or you can say in the form of software as well. All right, so if you're making up a LAN, you are connecting all the computers, so you can use one printer, and that printer will be shared by all the devices in a lab. It is fast and it is having a very secure communication among all the devices which are connected. Commonly used in homes, schools, offices, and laboratories, and managed by a single organization or individual, because it is established within a building or in a very small geographical area. So it is not managed by external organization, it is managed by a very single organization or individual, and it can use both type of connections, that can be wired connection and that could be as well wireless connection. So here is the representation of LAN setup, and LAN is there. Here you can see the first one node and the rest of all the computers. So all these computers are connected through the central device, which is called switch, and then switch is further connected to the router. And what is router, definitely we will discuss about next, but let me tell you one thing. Router is used to forward the data packets to its exactly location. Now there is a one hardware resource which is called printer, and the printer is connected to the switch. So all these computers can use this one resource, and this one resource is definitely shared by among all the nodes. Types of networks, one we have done LAN. Now we are going to discuss about the another one which is called MAN. And I told you MAN basically called metropolitan area network, and it is larger than a LAN, but it limited to a city or campus. As I told you, if you have arranged or managed two different LANs within a city, and if you want to join these two LANs together, so you are supposed to make a infrastructure that would be called a MAN as well. All right, is it clear? Hope so. It is used to connect multiple LANs across buildings in the same city, like a university campus. So this is another LAN. It is LAN 1 and it is LAN 2, and these are two infrastructures are connected, so it is making a form of MAN. Wide if you are in a one city and the same infrastructure is going to be developed, or you can say designed in another cities, so in these two infrastructures can be joined using a WAN. So it is called a wide area network, and wide area network means you are going to across the country or a subcontinent, and it will cover a very large geographical area. It is used to connect multiple LANs and WANs. This is the infrastructure of WAN and MAN as well, and LAN as well. So this is another LAN, this is a LAN 2, and this is a LAN 3. Alright. So when these LANs are connected together, this is called Metropolitan Area Network, and when all these are connected together through, so it is making a WAN, which is called a wide area network. Well, where everything is having some kind of advantages and disadvantages. When we making up our network infrastructure, it is also having some kind of advantages. Advantages like you can share the resources, like a printer, like if you have just 10 computers and you are setting a LAN and you have shared the one printer to all those nodes, so it was also giving you the cost advantage as well. It is basically cheaper software licensing on networks. You can purchase one software and you can share all the devices over the internet as well. ईजियर फाइल एंड डेटा शेयरिंग होती है अगर आप किसी एक भी सर्वर को मैनेज करें, अगर एक सर्वर आपने लगा दिया लैन के अंदर, सो उस सर्वर को मैनेज करके आप बाकी सारी अपनी जो कनेक्टिंग डिवाइसेस हैं उनको भी मैनेज कर सकते हैं. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट लैन एज वेल. ऑलराइट. सो सेंट्रलाइज डाटा स्टोरेज फॉर कंसिस्टेंट एंड रिलायबल एक्सेस होती है आपके पास. और अगर आपका कोई भी एक क्लाइंट जो अंदर से मिस है, यानी कि नोड जिसको हम कहते हैं, if that's not working, so you can keep the backup on that server as well. So you can track the files and you can back up the files as well. Next, it is very enhanced communication by email and messaging, and network management enables basically the control of user access and internet restrictions. Hope so it will be very clear. When we talk about the drawbacks, obviously we are going to set up using a server. So using a server and using a cabling, because as we know that it is a very limited, I'm just talking in the context of LAN. So it is like a costly because server and because of cabling as well. And the number two, it is complex to manage and maintain large networks. When we talk about LAN, okay, it is fine and easy to manage, but when it is coming towards MAN, and then it is coming towards the next third one, which was about WAN as well, then infrastructure is going larger and it is very going to be costly. And then the third thing, it is like a difficult and complex to manage. Failure of key devices like a file server can disrupt the entire network. If your in main server goes down, or you can say interrupt, so your all the rest of nodes will be distracted as well, and then your whole network will be goes down. Risk of malware and hacking, especially in large networks like a WAN. In LAN you really have like a more secure, but when the LANs are going to be joined and making a form of WAN, so there is a much more risk that of hacking attack and malware attack as well. Hacking means that some kind of third person is trying to access your files or your devices. As a malware means that the virus is going to be spread and going to be distract, or you can say corrupt all the files on your systems as well. So you can though firewalls provide some kind of protection, so we managed all this kind of infrastructure or network using a firewalls. All right, so this is the thing. When we talk about network computers, we need some kind of resources, and which enables some kind of internal and external communication to take place. Well, when we talk about hardware, हार्डवेयर रिसोर्सेज हमें कौन से चाहिए होते हैं? वी नीड कार्ड्स, वी नीड routers, we need switches, and we need wireless routers, and we need cables as well. These are the resources we need to make up kind of in network infrastructure. When we talk about software, so software means operation and management of the network. Like we need kind of operation of firewalls, and we need kind of security applications that will be used to secure your network. And when we talk about the services, and services like for the first one, which is digital subscriber line, DSL, you can go for the satellite communication channels, and you can go for the protocols, that would be wireless protocols, and the last one, which is IP address. Hope so it will be clear as well. The next thing is this, there are basically two types of networks further, design. The number one, which is called a private network, and the number two, which is called a public network. By its name, it is showing, it is expressing what is private network and what is public network. When we talk about a private network basically managed or organized by a very single individual organization, and configured as basically LAN, or you can say intranet as well. And it is having a very restrict access user credentials like a username or password. It means, let's suppose we just talk about an organization that they have set up their own network. So every time when you wants to connect to that network, you're supposed to enter your ID and password as well. So this is kind of a private network, and this is managed by organization. So organization is basically for that kind of infrastructure, organization is responsible for purchasing the hardware and software to maintain the network as well. And just to maintain that network, they also need a very professional and trained IT staff. All right. For example, if you talk about a bank internal network is used by employees only. And same like this, if you talk about furthermore organizations, they are basically having their own personal network, private network. The concern is just to make secure, and no one can external attack on their network. The second one, which is called a public network. So public network, which is basically owned by a telecommunication provider, which is called ISP, internet service provider, and it is used by multiple organizations and or the public. And you don't have a kind of any restrictions. You don't need to log into in that system using an ID or password. So users typically connected to the via internet, or you can say shared infrastructure. And the example is this mobile network and provided by the telecom. All right, so these are the two types of networks, private and public network. The third one topic, which is a client server and peer-to-peer networking models. These are two very interesting topics as well, client server and peer-to-peer model. The first one, which is called client server model. In client server model, your server is having all kind of information. So the clients, or you can say the clients is basically different nodes, computers, tabs, whatever you have. Over the internet, they will send a request to the server, and server will proceed to the request. Alright, if the server is having that request, that will be interpreted by the server and will be proceed, and then will be shown to the client as well. So what we can say that a client basically sends request to the server, and server finds the request data and sends it back to the client, and server is managed by the administrator. So a system administrator manages the whole network. Clients are connected through a network, and it is giving access when over the large distances. Alright, so this is the infrastructure for the client server model. And when we look up over the internet, we will see a lot of servers. वीडियो सर्वर्स हो गए, आपके पास वेब सर्वर्स हो गए, आपके पास ऑडियो सर्वर्स हो जाते हैं, आपके पास एजुकेशन के सर्वर्स अलग से हो जाते हैं. So every kind of server is available, and being a client, whatever we have a request, we are sending over the internet, and then browser basically back in the work to DNS, and the DNS will look up this further where the request is hold. So this is the infrastructure for the client server model. Well, when we talk about the characteristics of client server model, it is basically consisting of a very dedicated server and a client workstations connected to them, as in the figure mentioned. All the files are centrally stored on the servers. Alright, whatever the data, whatever the files all will be centrally stored, means all the files are stored on a server and clients will access all the files from there. Access is basically managed by the server on, and it is just giving to the only very permitted. The files are shared which are permitted and is shared with those authorized users as well. So it is having a central security database enforced, like you have to log in using a ID or password. Users are granted access only to assign the resources like a printers and files. And this point I shared, you are supposed to given the access to just authorized users. So software can be installed on client machine via the server. So if you having a 10 to 11 computers and all these computers are connected to the server, so rather than visiting all the nodes one by one, you can install the resources on your clients using a server. Centralized email handling is the characteristics, like you can send or receive and store the data as well, emails as well. Nightly backup, you can go for the backup as well if your one client is not responding, or you can say one node is not responding. So you can keep the track up of all the data on your server, and at any time you can take or you can collect the data from the server as well. So it is very easier to scale than peer-to-peer networks. It is very easy because you just have to connect the next another node to the server as well. So offers a very high security and stability than peer-to-peer network. Because of server, there is much more security as compared to like peer-to-peer. Let me discuss it peer-to-peer, and then it will be very easy for you to compare. So can suffer from bottle of necks if any client request occurs simultaneously. Alright. So examples अगर हम देखें तो examples इसकी क्या है कि it is basically suitable when you have a large number of users, alright, when you have a security concerns, and it is useful as useful for small groups, but it depends on the needs. Enable control access, obviously you are working through a server, so it basically enables control access to a network resource to whom you want to share the your data or files as well, and it will provide you a very centralized security and user authentication, and it ensures the centralized data backup just to prevent accidental data loss. Basically the purpose of server is this: in case if a client lost his data or credentials or in any kind of mishap, so there will be no loss of data because all your data is storing on your central devices, which is called a server. So it is very ideal for the business requiring just to secure, reliable and scalable network infrastructure. If you look up at the example, you will see Amazon. It use a client server model, and it basically client server model use Amazon use client server model just to maintain the user interface updates, order processing, customer billing and data security. So users basically interact with the server, not with each other. It is just like this, that all these students and all these students, if they having a query, they will definitely direct with the to the relevant subject teacher. The students will not supposed to they are going to discuss the relevant issue with one another. So a backup server architecture handles multiple user requests simultaneously and independently, because at the same time many clients are sending a request to the server. So this is basically backup, and backup server architecture handles multiple requests at the same time if it is coming from the clients. Second infrastructure that was about peer-to-peer, and by using this one representation, visual representation, you can see that all the nodes are connected together and having a very same status. There is no server. So all the devices are sharing the data or files over the network with one another, and there is less security as compared to client server. And so in peer-to-peer, there is no central server. Each peer can act as both provider and consumer. So peer share files directly with each other. So a lookup computer may be used to locate the available services on the network. So direct communication between peers is possible. As you can see, all these devices are directly communicated. So direct communication is possible in peer-to-peer model. It is having a very limited security because all the peers are having a same status. So there is no security. So users control access by setting up a local share points, and performance and manageability decrease with more than 10 nodes. All right, if you having a peer-to-peer network and it is crossing more than 10, so there will be a problem of speed, or you can say performance. All right, so use cases and examples. If we talk about peer-to-peer example, it is basically best for if you're having a small network and typically the number of computers less than 10. No need to reverse security or central management. In peer-to-peer network, there's no need of this kind of management. Suitable for the workstation based applications. And if you look up the examples of small building firm with 5 workers or working with a home, this is the best infrastructure they can develop as well. So they share access to each other's schedule, job history and skills without needing a client server. So in this case, they do not need to access the server or just send the request to the server. They will definitely communicate directly with one and other just to access the information. All right. Well, when we talk about the types of clients as well, so type of clients, there are basically two types of clients. The number one, which is called thin client, and the number two, which is called a thicker client. In thin client, your node is not dependent. All right, sorry, your node is not independent. It is depending on some kind of server. So relies heavily on a server for the processing, or you can say file access, and just to run our applications. So in thin clients, आपकी जो performance होती है वो minimal होती है because everything is handled by the server and requires a constant connection. If you having a thin client, it requires a very constant connection to the server, because in thin client your server is proceeding all the requests. So you need a very constant uh, like you can say all the time connected needs to the server as well. So can be it hardware or software, that depends on a very powerful server. Yeah, if you talk about the web server, obviously your application is nothing if you're not connecting to the server. So a web browser that works with connected to the internet or a server. Mobile apps that needs real-time access to the data from a remote server. The next is hardware. If we look up the example, you must see a POS machine. It is used in a supermarket, and it is used to access the prices of that product, and it is used to process the transactions, but using a server. So your POS is all the time connected to the server. So it is another example of thin client. When we talk about thick client, thick client which is independent and is not depending on any kind of server. So a thick client which is the device or server and can work for both online or offline, and capable of local processing and without needing a constant server access or connection as well. So can connect to the LAN, MAN, WAN or to the internet, but does not rely it on the function. So has its own storage. In thick client, it is having their own storage, which is called hard disk drive, or you can say solid state drive, or you can say random access or operating system. And if you look up the examples, you can say personal computer, laptop, tablet, that can run software and store data locally, and a computer game that runs independently on a device. If you look up the examples, if you see Candy Crush, that is basically depending on your server. You can go for the offline as well, but if you want to go for the next level, you will go for the online internet as well. The same thing is the Subway Surfers, which is basically offline game. So there are a lot of applications which needs a constant connection to the server. All right. Well, when we talk about pros and cons, or you can say advantages or disadvantages of thin or thick clients. Well, firstly, we will talk about thick clients, which is not depending on any kind of server. So can function offline and can process locally. User have more control over the programs and data. But when we talk about the disadvantage or cons, it is less secure, and software and data updates are continuously required, and data integrity issue are uh, come up with this kind of infrastructure. When we talk about thin client, so thin client, it is as you know that it is cheaper and expand and use a very low powered devices as well, but it needs a centralized updates for the software and data, because it is depending on server na? The server can offer better protection against malware, or you can say hacking. And when we talk about cons, it is higher dependency on server because it is not locally performing anything else. So thin clients are depending highly on a server. If the server fails, which is preceding your request, if the server fails, client cannot function. And despite using cheaper devices, initial setup costs are often higher than thick clients. So this is the whole topic what we have discussed in for chapter number 2, which is the networking devices. Hope so it will be clear. If in case of any issue, you must discuss about it. I will definitely answer to your question as well. But don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to press the like button. Thank you.